Step into a piece of Virginia's colonial past, but be warned, some residents never truly checked out. The Peyton Randolph House in Colonial Williamsburg is widely considered one of America's most intensely haunted homes. Dating back to 1715, this historic residence has witnessed centuries of life and death, including the Revolutionary War era. Visitors and staff consistently report chilling paranormal activity, from phantom footsteps and disembodied voices echoing through empty rooms, to objects moving on their own and unsettling physical sensations, as if the spirits of its former inhabitants still guard their cherished home, fiercely clinging to the echoes of their past.
This story came from someone named Kyle, who got hired at a tech company in Arlington. His first week on the job ended with security footage no one could explain. I started working at a mid-sized software company in Virginia last year. It was one of those newer buildings. Keycard access, touch screens in the elevators, coffee machines that talk to you. Pretty normal. My desk was in a quiet row near the back corner. No window, just two short cubicle walls and a filing cabinet I shared with the guy who had the workstation before me. HR said he transferred to another state. It was my third day when I opened the bottom drawer and saw the badge. A plain white visitor badge with a black stripe and a name, Richard Neely. Logged in 8:03 a.m. Today, it was still warm. I thought maybe someone dropped it off earlier that morning and forgot it. But when I asked around, nobody had heard of Richard Neely. Not HR, not security, not the front desk. We're supposed to register all guests digitally. There was no record of anyone checking in under that name. I held on to the badge, planning to return it, until I noticed something that chilled me. The timestamp, 8:03 a.m. That's exactly when I'd sat down and opened the drawer. I asked it if they could pull security footage. They were hesitant but agreed after I told them someone might be slipping past check-in. That afternoon, one of the guys from security came to my desk looking pale. He asked me to come to the office. He played the lobby cam from that morning. At 8:03 a.m., you see me badge in at the front entrance. Alone. I walk through the lobby, past the front desk, but behind me, just as the doors are about to shut, someone else walks through. A man, medium height, hoodie. Face turned from the camera. He doesn't badge in, doesn't stop at reception, just walks straight in, and follows me all the way to the elevators. The frame glitches slightly, but you can see me push the button. The guy stands behind me. And when the doors open, only I get in. The man doesn't follow. He just stands there, then turns and walks out of frame. We checked other cameras. Nothing. The hallway, the stairwell, the rest of the floor. No one ever saw him leave. But an hour later, I found his badge in my drawer, still time-stamped to my arrival. I asked to move desks. They said the desk had no history of issues. But I noticed the nameplate on the cubicle wall still had Richard N. in faded letters beneath mine. I covered it with a Post-it, and every morning since I check that drawer first thing. It's always empty, but sometimes I swear I feel someone standing behind me just before I sit down. This one came from a guy named Luis. He worked the overnight cleaning shift at a DMV in Central Virginia, and said this job was the last one he ever took after hours. I used to do contract janitor work, usually late-night gigs. One of my regular spots was a DMV building just outside Richmond. 2 floors, plain exterior, government gray everywhere. Easy paycheck. The top floor was mostly admin offices. The public didn't go up there. My job was to vacuum, empty trash, and clean the bathrooms. Nothing special. About a month in, I noticed something weird. At the end of the second-floor hallway, there was a short corridor with one door, always locked. No label, no room number. I figured it was a storage room. One night, that door was cracked open. I know I didn't open it. I'd never even seen it unlocked before. I walked over, thinking maybe maintenance was doing something. Inside was a narrow stairwell. Steep, old steps going up, which didn't make sense, there was no third floor. But I'm not gonna lie, I was curious. So I grabbed my flashlight and went up. It led to a narrow, dusty room, an old office space, maybe 30 feet long, windowless. Fluorescent lights overhead, most of them flickering. Stacks of shelves, filing cabinets, a few folding chairs and tapes, hundreds of VHS tapes. Some in cases, some just stacked. Each one had a name, date, and a DMV ID number handwritten on the spine. I picked one at random. Sarah Lenning, July 14, 2007, rear-end collision. Then another. Tom Garland, March 22, 1999, fatal left turn. They were all labeled with accidents. Some were minor, some clearly weren't. I don't know why, but I popped one into the old TV sitting on a cart in the corner. The tape was grainy footage. Looked like it was recorded from a dash cam. A car waiting at a light. Then a truck sped through the red and smashed into it. I recognized the intersection. It was just a few blocks from the DMV. I pulled another tape. This one was labeled with tomorrow's date. And my name. I didn't watch it, I couldn't. I put it back exactly where I found it, turned off the TV, and got out of there. The next morning, I quit the job. That same day, I took the bus home. I still don't drive. This story came from a woman named Erica, who was apartment hunting in Williamsburg. She thought she found a great deal, until the real agent told her that listing never existed. I was moving to Virginia for grad school and needed a cheap place close to campus. Found a listing online for a colonial-style townhouse. 2-story, brick, wood shutters. The photos looked legit, and the price was suspiciously low, but I figured maybe it was just old or needed repairs. I messaged the contact and got a reply almost immediately. He said his name was Mr. Harper, and he could meet me that afternoon to show the unit. I didn't think much of it. The place was only a 10-minute walk from my hotel, so I just went. The townhouse was tucked on a quiet street, part of a row of older buildings with those old-style lanterns out front and ivy creeping up the bricks. The lawn was overgrown, but the house itself looked like the pictures. He was already waiting on the porch. Older guy, collared shirt, very polite. Said he was handling the listing for a friend out of town. Inside, it smelled off. Kind of like wax and old wood, like someone had lit a candle hours ago and left it burning too long. He showed me the downstairs. Tight living room, tiny kitchen, low ceilings. Then we went upstairs. There were 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The first room had nothing but an old mattress on the floor and empty shelves. The second room was completely bare except for a closet door with deep scratches across the inside panel, like someone had clawed at it from the inside. I asked about it. Mr. Harper didn't even look. Old tenants had a dog, he said, like it explained everything. I asked how long the unit had been empty. He said, a while. No details. He handed me a paper application and told me to take my time. Said I could mail it in or leave it in the mailbox if I wanted the place. I told him I'd think about it. He smiled, nodded, and said, "You should act fast. This one's always in demand." I left and went straight to the leasing agency listed online. When I asked about the property, the receptionist checked her screen, then looked confused. "That unit's not available," she said. "Someone already took it?" She shook her head. "That address hasn't been on our books in years." She double-checked. "We haven't had access to that property since 2011. Owner passed away. Place has been locked up ever since." I showed her the photos and the messages. She went pale. "That's the same listing we used. Word for word, but we never hired anyone named Harper." I called the number again. It went straight to voicemail. The messages were gone from the rental site. I went back to the house the next morning out of pure curiosity. There was a lock on the gate, a faded "for sale" sign in the window, bent, dirty, and yellowed from the sun. No sign anyone had been there in years. But here's the thing I can't shake. On my hotel bed that night, I unpacked the folder he gave me. Inside was the application, and taped to the top was a candle stub, still warm.